So it's such a pleasure for me to see so many participants listening. We are expecting a few other people to come, but before we get going, I propose that we do some exercises. So welcome our delegation from the Ivory Coast. They only arrived yesterday, missed the first days, but today they are here, and it's such a pleasure to welcome them. So before we start, I can see some of you are kind of sleepy still. That is why I ask you that you all pick a partner, go to the partner, and then they will say 2 words to your partner. The 2 words are the ones that you remember most from these days. A partner and 2 words. Please stand up, choose your partner, and say these 2 words that you remember most of these 2 days. Just at random, you can pick your partners.
Eh bien voilà, je vois.
I can see that this is a successful exercise.
Donc c'est déjà, je vois que vous n'avez pas respecté les consignes. J'ai dit 2 mots.
So I can see that you have not followed my recommendations. I just said 2 words, which means that later we can have a discussion here and enjoy being together. Technology is excellent, but then face-to-face contacts are still better. And now, please put down on your applications, these 2 words that you thought about. That would be excellent. And now I am really happy to welcome you at this parallel session organized by the organizing committee, and the title is Service Delivery Design and Impact Evaluation. And at this session, we are going to speak about the different experiences and services that we are offering our clients and our user experience and how to evaluate the impact. So I do not have to tell you about all those services that we are providing to our customers. We've had very good recent experiences about this, and that means that the services have been really impactful. It is important to pay attention to the actual needs of our users, our clients, and we have come to the conclusion today that we have to place our clients' interests and needs in the center of our services, whether they are job seekers or employers, because they are our 2 main clients and to whom we are offering our services. It is not always easy. It's easier said than done. So I think that the subject at hand is important, and our organizations have to take into account the fact that all clients are not similar, and they do not have a similar approach and similar expectations. So we have to keep an eye on the changing context. And the concept of the services and the provision of the services means that, in principle, we do have two levels to look at. First, we have to evaluate all the pros and cons and risks that accompany these constructs. That is why we have organized this session, in order to think all together and figure out what are the main principles that would enable us to provide impactful, efficient services that meet the needs of our clients. And in order for this to carry out in a proper manner, we have picked a panel of speakers made up of people who have a lot of experience in these fields. So I would like to start with Mr. Jean-Louis Kouadio. He's a friend of mine as well. And he's the general manager of the public employment services of Côte d'Ivoire. But I'm going to say a few words about him myself. From 1st of March 2017, there have been certain changes. Mr. Kouadio is reorganizing this agency and is working on the strategies, and I do like the strategies very much. He used to be an advisor, a technical advisor to the Minister of Youth Promotion, Youth Employment and Civic Service. That was from March 2016 to March 2017, and he's a statistical analyst and economist by his education. So a round of applause to Mr. Kouadio.
Un long voyage de la Côte d'Ivoire à l'Allemagne avec notre
And then let's go from the Ivory Coast to Germany, and our panelist, Mrs. Janice Schmidt-Altmeyer. I hope that I pronounced your name properly. Janice. Janice has a judicial education, and she has long working experience in the German Federal Employment Agency.
12 years.
What?
What is the abbreviation of your agency?
BA.
A short name for it. BA.
Alors elle a occupé plusieurs postes différents. Elle est actuellement chef de la représentation.
She has been working on several positions, and currently she's head of the European representation of this agency in Brussels. And she's going to tell us about what's been done in Germany and what are the plans for further activities. And thank you for joining us. So a round of applause to Ms. Janice Schmidt-Altmeyer as well. Thank you.
Madame Reelika Leetmaa, c'est ça?
And last but not least, we have Mrs. Reelika Leetmaa.
Membre du conseil d'administration d'Institut Casa.
She is a member of the management board of the Estonian Unemployment Insurance Fund. And I hope that Mr. Pavel is happy by having Mrs. Reelika Leetmaa speaking today. The Estonian Unemployment Insurance Fund is the Estonian Employment Insurance Fund. And Reelika has been dealing with labor market statistics and analysis, career services, skills development, and she has also supported business startups. She has graduated from the University of Southern Denmark, and she has a Master of Economics degree. And before joining the Estonian Unemployment Insurance Fund. She has been Director of Labour and Social Policy Programme and also a member of the Management Board at the Centre for Policy Studies Praxis. And she's going to tell us about experimental services used by the Estonian Unemployment Insurance Fund, how the state is funding this and what the social partners are doing as well. But now I would like to propose that before I give the floor to our esteemed speakers, let's have another small game. Please take your technical gadgets, and in your daily lives, I would like to
Ça va venir, ne vous en faites pas. Et la question va être très simple.
Don't worry. The question that I'm going to ask is going to be a very easy question. So please scan the QR code, and here's your question. In your daily life, we are often asked to give our opinion as a customer on a service. Do you answer these kinds of services? Do you do this always, sometimes, or never? And if you do not have an answer, then turn to Thierry. She's my colleague, and we are going to give a round of applause to Thierry as well. And now I propose that we get going and listen to the first speaker, Jean-Louis Kouadio, General Manager of the Youth Employment Agency. I saw that you have a small proposal to make today, so I will give you 10 minutes, 25 seconds for this. Good morning, welcome everyone. My name is Jean-Louis Kouadio. I'm General Manager of the Youth Employment Agency from Côte d'Ivoire, and I would like to welcome you warmly. And I'm going to give you a small presentation about how our department works. So since I've been given only 10 minutes, so I get going right away. And the subject is the concept of service provision and impact evaluation.
Alors, donc, je vais aller d'abord pour présenter l'agence emploi jeune, comment on est arrivé.
First, I'm telling you about our agency, how we work. Our goal is to apply the national employment policy and promote youth employment. We focus on the youth mainly because
7% de la population Côte d'Ivoire. Donc on ne peut pas mener à bien une politique d'emploi.
Because our young make up about 50% of the total population, so we cannot deal with employment issues if we are not focusing on the young.
Mettre en œuvre toutes ces stratégies de promotion focus sur.
And that is why we want to use all the government measures. This is our obligation. So here is the content and subject of my presentation. The main mission, as I said, of our agency is, as I said, young people make up about 50% between 18 to 24, which means that we cannot deal with employment without paying attention to the young people. That is why I have dedicated my presentation to the young today. Our second task is to mobilize resources in order to implement the programs and projects aimed at youth employment. We have at present scheduled 22 missions, but they also take into account young people. On this slide, you can see our network, how our 20 branches are are distributed across the country.
Des guichets emploi que nous mettons dans toutes les communes de la Côte d'Ivoire pour pouvoir mener à bien des politiques de proximité. Parce que si on veut
And the whole country has branches and departments of the unemployment fund, and we have to think that our services reach everyone. That is why we have a network that takes into account the needs of everyone.
environnement macroéconomique stable en Côte d'Ivoire, favorable.
The next slide is why our situation has improved, because over the last years the political life has been considerably more stable over the past 8 years, and we want to create as many jobs as possible and in order to support SMEs and youth employment. Our economic growth has been quite strong, although the pandemic had an impact as well. But for the past 10 years, we've had economic growth of 8% every year. And we intend to strengthen the youth employment agency's visibility by 2025.
On a essayé de mettre en œuvre dans une matrice l'ensemble de nos prestations de services. Alors,
together with the service provision and providers, we intend to promote and improve the level of our services, the quality of our services.
Le premier niveau, c'est l'orientation professionnelle et la préparation à l'emploi.
And when we look at these different levels, then the first level has to do with determining the needs, the first interview. So the most important criterion for us is orientation. People who are already quite near or ready for jobs, and they do not need too many services that we are offering. We just have to nudge them a little bit. For example, I'm speaking about this initial interview, the analysis interview, career choice or selection, assistance for job seeking, and so on. This applies really to those people who do not need too many of our services, and that is why it is quite easy for us to place these people on the job market. But then there are also people who have been away from the job market for a long time, not adapted properly. They need additional training and retraining or apprenticeship or something like that. In order to achieve this, we need more serious services to provide to them. That is why we have also contacts with our other employment agencies, and we also make sure that, for example, non-citizens have visas that allow them to work, and we also support companies.
Donc là, ça nécessite à l'extrême. Non seulement ils sont éloignés du marché du travail.
And all this makes it necessary for us to reach such people who have been away from the labor market for a longer period. So they need more. They really need more support from us. They need also financial assistance.
Voilà, je présente rapidement l'agence. On peut passer notre orientation stratégique.
I'll also briefly tell you.
Alors,
I told you about our strategic goals, but as you see, we have a vision up for years 2021 to 2025, and we plan to reach 1 million young people, to find new means. And then we also intend to organize work practice, because many of them have not been engaged in work practice and are looking for ways for young people so that they could engage in work practice, and that would improve their skills. So we want to reach out to 1 million young people over the next 4 years. Then next, as I said, we want to reach out to 1 million young people, and we have adjusted some of our services that we are offering. We have 4 different programs that should make our services more visible. We have launched a program with immediate impact, and it is titled We Act in the Name of the Youth. And also we've improved funding, which means that we have found the possibility to grant them interest-free loans starting from 2019. This has been a pilot project. And we have also another project that also deals with apprenticeships, so that people get more skills and after that they will find a job. So these are all those adjustments that we have carried out in this sector. We also had a reform of professional support or orientation, and in the course of this reform we started paying more attention to profiling, mainly the profiling of job seekers. We do this in all our regional departments. And our agency has been helping here. We have analyzed the needs.
Après l'inscription, passe forcément par un conseiller emploi avec des nouveaux outils.
And we have also started using different tools. We have redefined the profiles of the job seekers, and we have started to use the so-called monitoring and support to the job seekers. So what are the results of all these changes, and what are the lessons that we learned in the course of that? We have organized our human resources services, and we are providing this is really a search for job seekers, and we also offer counseling, which has been very successful. We have also improved our technological platform considerably.
On a mis en place un dispositif de partenariat avec les régions, et en fait, on a formé.
We have partnerships with the different regions. We have also strengthened the training of managers and leaders. And all these changes have taught us quite a lot. We have learned on the level of entrepreneurship that we need more financial education, so that we have to provide more financial training to our clients, and we need more partners for both technical and funding issues in order to reduce the problems. And in addition to this, we have to we have to also look at the beneficiaries of our support, and it should be easier for our young people to get access to our financial services, which also means that a lot remains to be done here. Apprenticeship is also an important field of activities. And last but not least is developing our long-term strategy, developing additional support functions. We have to also monitor and evaluate the success of our projects. And finally, I would like to say that we are working in close cooperation with our public employment services. We have revised our services to enterprises as well, which also allows us to think about the needs of our services that we need to improve. And we have to create a platform that gives us a survey of all our services. This is all that I wanted to share with you, and if you have questions, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, and let's applaud.
Moi, j'ai vu entre la slide 8 et 9 que vous avez élaboré votre offre de service, comme nous l'avons entendu dans votre présentation, à partir à la fois des objectifs.
As we have just heard, you have continued increasing the number of your services,
Slide 9.
and you've also focused on analysis.
Satisfaction des différents clients de l'agence.
But I'd like to ask, how do you evaluate the satisfaction of your plans? Thank you. That's an excellent question. So we do have a platform already.
C'est-à-dire nos conseillers emploi à travers des
Our clients, job seekers, can evaluate our services. There are necessary tools. It's possible to regularly fill in questionnaires and assess whether there's anything in our services with functioning well or not so well. Is there anything in addition they would need? So this allows us to adjust our work.
mise en œuvre de nos différentes offres de services. On fait une évaluation.
And now we have offered a certain number of services a year, and then we conducted a survey to see what has functioned well, what not so well. So we are continuously assessing and monitoring our services. So if services have been functioning for a year, then we run a full assessment. We would like to know and to be sure with whether these services are sustainable. Okay, thank you. Do you have any official assessment or evaluation which allows you to evaluate your colleagues? Do you also follow how your clients have moved forward? Thank you. Yes, yeah. We have a spreadsheet, actually, or a table where we have all necessary components listed, and we fill in this table regularly. We keep an eye on it, and so we know what the young or the companies think of our services, what kind of companies are better suited for the young, what not so well. So these results allow us to draw up some statistical results. We evaluate the criticism both from the young and from the companies. Thank you. Now I have a quick piece of information for the audience.
Qui ont été partagés avec les collaborateurs, donc je vous invite.
So again, 2 words.
Par rapport à ces 2 mots, donc je vous invite à les.
2 words. Use your gadgets. 2 words which you say to your colleague. Send these 2 words. Just enter these 2 words into your gadgets. And now you can ask questions. Jean-Louis Kouadio, would anyone like to ask a question?
Nous avons une première question là-bas. Ah, la première question.
Okay, there seems to be a question.
La pression, là. C'était juste pour
It's
savoir.
always difficult to ask the first question.
J'ai l'impression qu'il y a beaucoup de choses que vous avez renouvelées, donc en phase de développement. Donc,
Thank you. You have been talking about what you have done, what should be done, what should be renewed, revamped, what you have done for service provision.
qui est disponible pour eux, ou est-ce que ça c'est encore un défi?
But your target group, the young, are they aware of the services you offer, or is it still a challenge? Do you know how to target the young in the best possible way? Do the young know that they can get to this kind of information? If you have a plan, so how do you plan? Are there any other questions?
S'il vous plaît, madame,
Yeah, please.
il est là. Je vais vous demander de vous présenter, s'il vous plaît, comme ça l'intervenant saura à qui il parle.
Ok, moi c'est Issouf.
Would you please introduce yourself?
Là, un peu du Niger.
I'm Ismaili from Tunisia.
À l'entrepreneuriat. Parce que dans le domaine de l'entrepreneuriat,
And I would like to ask about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is definitely an area which has some problems, especially funding of the enterprises created by the young. I know in the Ivory Coast that you have focused on the young and the funding of the companies created by the young. So how is the access to dedicated funding, and if there are any obstacles, how do you plan to overcome these obstacles? Yeah, definitely. The Youth Employment Agency has a number of such possibilities. As there are no more questions, Jean-Louis, you are welcome to respond to these questions. We are continuously working on improving our communication. We have the young who would like to target, and then we have job seekers, we have companies, we have communication programs. But in 2017, when I started working in the agency, the young didn't know anything much about it. They didn't know what the state has created for them. So, when we talk about what we offer, communication is always the key issue. And it's also very important what's done in the local neighborhood. We provide this information, what's taking place locally, but we also have a council which works in the name of this. We do our best to reach the young. We also provide information to the companies. And in our council, we have also representatives of businesses, employers. But we also have a number of various publications. For example, if one region we provide certain services, then we provide a kind of publication for it, which is distributed on the city level, company level, so that the young would see that there are young people who have benefited from our services package. So we are doing our best to reach the young. These are the components of our communication, which we send both to the job seekers and service providers. And now the second question about entrepreneurship and the young and funding. Currently, the banks are a bit tentative as regards funding. We also provide guarantees to the banks. We have partner banks. We promote the funding of the young on 3 levels. First, that's microfinancing. And when the young have got to the first round of funding, and then the next round is 1 to 5 million. But the young have to introduce their project. They have to defend it in front of the financial and technical experts. They have to defend their project to different specialists. They have to tell the bank and others about their projects. This allows to understand how the project will develop. But to tell the truth, currently the banks are not very willing, but we are doing our best to introduce this guarantee system. Thank you very much, Jean-Louis. And now I suggest we go to the next topic, next speaker, Janice from Germany, from the German Federal Employment Agency. And Ms. Janice will tell us about the developments in the German Employment Agency, successes and failures. The floor is yours.
Okay. Because I'm better in speaking standing.
Oh.
So very welcome from my side too. I'm very happy to talk to you today about video counseling and if it's becoming the new normal. as you all know, the labor market is undergoing a digital change at the moment. It has been accelerated, of course, by the COVID pandemic, and we all realize that changes are taking place. In the first moment, changes might bring fear, but they also have very much positive sides, and they bring a lot of advantages for the future. So this is why I would like to talk to you about video counseling and if it's becoming the new normal today. And I will present some facts from the German Employment Agency, but also from other European PES. So this place, I would like to say thank you for all participating and supporting PES from Europe, which supported us in this in the survey we did, and also with some slides. Especially thank you to the Netherlands, who supported us very much. But first of all, I would like to tell you some facts about the German Federal Employment Agency. We have one headquarter, which is based in Nuremberg, Bavaria. They developed the strategy for the Federal Employment Agency in Germany. And we have 10 regional directorates all over Germany. They implement the strategy together with the employment agencies, which are 156 all over Germany. We also have 303 job centers. And what's our main task? Our main task and mission is counseling, of course, individual counseling. What we also give financial support. We pay out benefits and family benefits as well. We do qualifications and trainings and employer services. And we have a lot of services every day which we offer, which you can see there, but I don't want to tell you about all of them. I want to point out one, which is video counseling. I don't have the figures per day, but in February we did 21,474 video counseling sessions with customers, which was really a lot for us. It was new for us. We didn't do that before the pandemic. So this brings me to our topic today. And this is video counseling. So the BA launched a survey in 2021 among all European PES to find out how much they use video counseling and new formats for counseling or chats or other functions. And 17 out of 24 PES participated in the survey and gave answers to us. And there were a lot of findings, and one main thing was that video counseling and new forms of counseling are accepted. They're very well accepted by staff and by customers, but there is still a need for hybrid counseling. We can't replace it, video counseling. So that was one of the findings. Another finding was that there are a lot of benefits when you do video counseling and when you use new options, and counseling is becoming more comprehensive. But of course, everywhere where you have advantages, you also have challenges. And in the survey, we found out 3 main challenges: technology capacity and capability, data privacy regulatory environment, and human acceptance are challenges we face. So when it comes to technology capacity and capability, there are 2 key domains that must be mastered by customers. One is the depth of preferences of the customer, and the other is the breadth of factors that may influence the customer. When it comes to data privacy regulations, we face problems in a lack of clarity in legislation sometimes. What can you do? What can't you do? And also, we have internal policies which we have to respect, and we have to make sure that customers can use the technologies we need to protect data. So those are challenges we face. I don't know if you remember the first time in COVID when we all used different virtual formats, WebEx, Zoom, and the question for data privacy came up. So those are challenges. And also human acceptance is a big challenge, because there is distrust among customers, and we have to solve this. We have to build up trust, and we have to find human acceptance on customer and counselor side. So I have some data for you too, which was collected by the Netherlands and the German PES. And the data has been collected in different time frames among the pandemic. But it's very interesting, I think, to see the different scales. For example, the red scale stands for the Netherlands, the gray one for Germany. And the red scale shows that a lot of customers like to be contacted via phone in the Netherlands, for example. It's very low in Germany. And on the other hand, online video meetings are preferred in Germany at the moment, or at the moment of the survey, by 44%, and it's 13% in the Netherlands. And we only have among 20% in both countries for meetings up face-to-face. So there's a shift in preferences of customers, which we can clearly see, even if it is different time frames, different questions maybe. So you can't really compare everything, but you can see that there's a shift in preferences. So that's an interesting finding, I think. And another question is, are there limits to virtual counseling? Of course there are. We have limits for employees, we have limits for vulnerable groups, and we have technical limits. On the BA side, at least, we do. So limits for employees can be, when you do virtual counseling, to present empathy for the customer, to reach him with empathy or her, and to be creative maybe. In a face-to-face meeting, you can interact, and that's more difficult in a virtual meeting. And also it's very difficult to interpret body language virtually. And when it comes to vulnerable groups, they might have a lack of digital skills. And in Germany, we discovered that there's also a problem with smartphone users or internet devices, because we don't have free Wi-Fi everywhere in Germany. And not everyone has internet access because it's very expensive. So they don't have the possibility to have internet access all the time. So that's a problem. And we have technical limits on the BA side. At the beginning of the of the pandemic, we didn't have technical equipment for everyone, or video equipment. We solved this by time, but a thing we still face is the poor internet connectivity in Germany, especially in rural areas, which makes it difficult. So how to overcome possible challenges, especially by reaching out to vulnerable groups? One important factor is to build trust. We need trust when we do counseling, we need trust when we interact with each other, and we especially need trust between the counselor and the customer when it comes to reaching out for vulnerable groups. We can develop similarities to overcome this, maybe by having similarities between job seekers and counselors, depending on age, gender, heritage. It can be anything. We can use possibilities and chances. As I said, there's a good acceptance among customers, so we can use this and promote it. We can motivate people, and we can use intensive groups job searching trainings. Portugal, for example, does this. They do job trainings on internet usage for job seekers to motivate them and to make it easier for them. Making it easy is very important. That's something the Netherlands does very well. They enable people to go to libraries, and they can have online access there. Librarians help them to find their way around the internet. So it's about making it easy to reach people. So very important is also to find a mixed balance between hybrid counseling and face-to-face counseling. I would like to refer to a study here, and I have to read the name of the study. It's oh, sorry. Well, never mind. It's a study from a journal. I will pass it later. And what they did a survey among customer services, traditional customer services, like you go shopping somewhere, and the new offer of internet services. And a very important finding is that you have multiple channel users now. They want to go traditionally into a shop, but they also want to be able to shop online. So we have a multi-channel behavior, and we can transport this to our PES also, because our clients, if they have everywhere the possibility to be online for services and to use traditional services, they will expect that from us too. They will want a traditional, very high quality standard in the office, but they also would like to have a good, well, virtual service. So we have to find a good mix of this multi-channel services, and we have to have a high quality on both services. We can't let one down, so we can't substitute one either, so that's pretty important. So what we can conclude today, video communication is complementary, it's not a substitute. I think that's very important. We have challenges, but also we have those challenges, it's very well accepted. People really find it easy to use. They prefer even the new ways of contact, so that's very good. And video communication meets the expectations of modern customers, especially of young customers, because they expect us to be virtually, to be a modern PES, and so that's very good. And despite technical issues, we're all on our way. And I think we will all overcome these challenges, and it would be wonderful if we could overcome these challenges together and take the next steps together. So thank you very much, and I hope we'll go the next steps together.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Merci, Janice, from Bondegastou for Arbet.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you for your presentation.
Il y a beaucoup d'informations très utiles, mais je choisirai plus particulièrement.
You gave us a lot of important information.
Téléconseil. Et donc le téléconseiller semble donc une réponse qui a été.
And I would like to touch upon this video counseling that is extremely well liked by the clients. You also spoke about the hybrid services, but could you also tell us about what are those different means that you use to support your clients? Are you organizing a telephone service in order to understand how satisfied the clients are?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for the question. There are different ways we do to find out how we can support our clients. So for example, if a client has for the first time a video counseling appointment, then afterwards we will contact them via phone or directly after the video counseling from another person via video and ask them how they found the experience. So it's fresh, and they can refer to the experience they just had. So we immediately contact them, but we also contact them via phone because some people have for the first time a video counseling experience, and they might be more comfortable with a phone call afterwards than with another video call. So that's why we switch methods there. We also ask clients in the offices if they would like to participate with video counseling. It's complementary in Germany, so it's not compulsory. You don't have to choose video counseling. You can still come into the office. You don't have to do a video counseling session. And we ask people at the office if they would like to participate with it. The counselors ask them, and we ask them afterwards via phone, and we ask them via video.
Parfait, merci. Et dans
Thank you.
dans une logique de co-création, est-ce que les clients sont associés
And another question from the same field.
ou ajustement de la prestation du service?
What about the clients? Microphone. Micro.
There's no translation at the moment.
I am sorry, I couldn't get the question from the French. A question, once again. When we are speaking about working together, you are saying that you involve users into developing your services. So are the clients also part of the developing some services, or is this something that you do just inside your office, in between your own colleagues?
Yeah, well, we have those surveys, and we do studies on the surveys we have, and we use the findings of surveys and studies we have on client questionnaires we do, and they're based for new developments. So they're the basis of everything we do. So we take into account the questionnaires, the telephone calls where we ask people, we have surveys where we ask people. But when it comes to co-creation, like joint development, for example, we had a project which was called BA of the Future, where we tried it out with some customers to do a customer journey, but it's not implemented, so we don't practice it yet.
Merci. Merci beaucoup. Et je me retourne vers la salle.
Thank you.
Des questions pour,
And now I would like to get questions from the audience. Do you have questions to Ms. Janice Schmidt-Altmeyer? There seems to be quite many questions.
Thank you very much. Also from the side of Switzerland, video counseling is also a very timely topic, research topic in Switzerland.
Dorit, j'espère que tu ne vas pas nous parler de finances.
Peut-être un peu aspect aussi.
Comme Dorit est la trésorière de l'AMSEP, elle adore parler finances.
Okay, the first question would be...
Are you willing to speak about the financial issues?
In Switzerland, we also observe that there's a high level of satisfaction as regards the video counseling offer. But my question would be, did you also conduct some impact evaluation and could evaluate whether people using this service would be as readily be able to re-enter the labor market as the control group? The second aspect would be as regards devices. You also mentioned smartphones, and I wondered whether smartphones are comparable to ordinary desktops and whether there would be some limitations to some devices. And last question would be the cost-benefit ratio. Is there potential for savings for PES, or is it a zero calculation? But you don't have to answer this question.
Elle ne peut pas s'empêcher.
Okay,
Il y a une deuxième question ici. Madame? Pour monsieur?
Janice, thank you very much. I really enjoyed the presentation and obviously very timely as well. I'm interested that you chose the Netherlands because, of course, the Netherlands was a pioneer in digital. They started this journey in 2009, so well before the rest of the public and private employment services joined the digital journey. Two things they found. One, that their own staff didn't like to use the digital channel, and indeed they lost a lot of very good counsellors who preferred face-to-face. So that's the first question. Have you evaluated how staff see this? The second question centres on where you benchmark your experience. We know that there has been a big push for digital in banking, in healthcare, and online training. But we also know from studies, McKinsey study, for example, that many customers are now having second thoughts about using digital channels and have expressed an intention to move back more towards face-to-face engagement with those services. So my question is, have you benchmarked against other services in other sectors? And secondly, whether you're looking at those trends and therefore looking to develop the kind of what we might call physical and digital or phygital services that customers are looking to take up in the future. Thank you.
Vous n'êtes pas obligé de répondre. Surtout à la question finance.
Okay.
You do not have to answer, not to the financial questions, but please go ahead if you can.
Otherwise, I would.
Il y a une autre question? Oh.
Okay, many questions.
Désolé, Fatna.
Ok, merci. Fanta Fadiga de l'Agence Emploi Jeunes Côte d'Ivoire. En tout cas, je voudrais saluer la qualité de l'intervention.
from the Ivory Coast, from the employment agency there. And first of all, I'm really happy that you made such a useful presentation. But I would like to ask about the IT illiterates. We from Africa, when we hear that there are IT illiterates in Germany, then we are really surprised. Well, the level is considerably higher when it comes to the number of IT illiterates. So I would like to ask more about the IT illiteracy. What does it actually mean when it comes to Germany?
Janice.
Okay, thank you very much for all these questions. I'll try to answer them briefly so I don't take too much time. The first question was on effects on video counseling. If we can see already if people enter in the same way into the labor market, if I got you right. We're doing surveys on that, while we don't have results yet, so I can't really tell you figures or say something concrete about that. So when it comes to smartphone users, yes, there are limits, that's true. And that's what I meant in the beginning when I talked about the different video formats we have, WebEx, Zoom, and so on. And for example, in Germany, in the beginning, we only used Skype, which was very difficult because not so many organizations use Skype. And but we try to reach young people, especially where they are, and they only have sometimes a smartphone. They don't all have a tablet or a PC. So that's why they use it for video counseling, and that's one of the restrictions or the limitations we have or we face actually, because sometimes they're not compatible, sometimes they don't match with the system we use, so we try to adjust that, but of course we can't offer all systems, so that is something that's a limitation we still face. And the cross benefits, saving potential, I can maybe say a little bit on that. Well, it actually, if we do a video consulting or virtual consultation, then you save, of course, time, you save travel time, because especially in rural areas, our counselors traveled a lot, and also customers travel, so both save travel time and costs for traveling. So there is potential probably, but it had to be evaluated to say how much there is. So I think that were your questions. Thank you. And now coming to the next question about we did the figures together with the Netherlands. There were many reasons for that. We had the survey I told you about among all European PES. We had many answers from the Netherlands, so that's why we said it would be a good idea to take a PES which answered a lot, so we can get out a lot for the presentation. So that was one reason. We also work very well together with the Netherlands. That was another reason, of course. And well, when it comes to how the staff sees this, because you referred to the Netherlands, that the staff in the beginning didn't like virtual counseling or the use of video counseling. In Germany, it's free for the counselor to decide if he uses video counseling or not. Of course, in the pandemic, it was difficult to find another way, but they could also do counseling by phone. So they had to stay in contact, but they could choose the way they would use, and of course not everyone loved it from the beginning. I think that's natural. But since it's not compulsory to use it, there's also a way of experience time counselors have to find out and to learn, and we also try to offer trainings, how to do good video counseling, how to interact with customers by virtual counseling, to give them opportunities and show up opportunities for chances they can use. So we're on the way there. And of course, since it's possible to enter the local agencies again in Germany, of course, some do face-to-face meetings again. And of course, some customers prefer that too. But I think we're on a way where we will see how the way goes and where the trip goes, where we all go together. And I think there will still be a shift in the formats customers will choose. But how the shift will be will show after we have a relevant pre-pandemic time, I think. So do we benchmark experiences? Well, since it's not compulsory, we only look how many video counselings we have at the moment. And as I said, we're doing surveys, but we don't already have results which can say how effective is it or compared to face-to-face meetings.
Sorry, thank you. It was about benchmarking with other sectors because, of course, we like to think the world revolves around employment services, which it does, of course. But the big changes are in online healthcare, online training, online banking. And these are informing the kinds of service design for customers, if we're being customer-centric. So that was the question. Okay. Do we benchmark, or do you benchmark externally with other industries?
Well, of course, we look at other industries. Like I told you about the study I referred to. We look what do they do, what do they offer. We look at training offers. For example, I refer to Portugal, which offer online trainings for their customers. So that's something we look at, but I can't tell you if we benchmark it. I don't know. Sorry. Okay, then IT illiterates. That was the last question. I guess that's a difficult question, to be honest, because IT illiteracy, I think it differs. It differs from person to person. It differs on age, and it differs on what they want to use. If you need to train someone on new IT functions for a new job profile, for example, or if you just need to be able to have a video call with someone, or if a person is able to search something online. Those are different stages of IT capability. And what we do with vulnerable groups when we try to train them, like Portugal, we try to make first steps on using IT. How to search something, how to deal with the IT options you have. So that's something we offer in Germany too. So I hope I answered all questions.
Tu vois, Fanta, maintenant, on n'a pas que des îles Trek en Afrique, il y en a partout. Je voudrais faire réagir naturellement parce que
it's the same everywhere, and I would like to speak about the Dutch experience. My friend Nils, maybe if you'd like, you could also share with us these remote services and video counseling, because the Netherlands was brought as an example. So maybe you could share a little bit of your experience as well.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I didn't expect this, but I will say a bit maybe about why there's so large preference in phone calling as opposed to video counseling, and some more about people who have difficulties using our IT applications or have low IT skills. Well, first of all, we've been teleworking 100% for the last 2 years. So many of our counselors have been working from their homes and from their living rooms, also with children. And many have felt that as an invasion of their personal privacy to have video calls with our clients online. So we provided them with virtual backgrounds to get some more privacy, but they did not always feel comfortable to provide these video services from their living rooms or kitchens with their children playing in the back. And it's easier for them by phone. Then also, especially in the beginning when everything was new, because the study was from the beginning of the pandemic, we found that many clients were not used to the video counseling and were not used to video chatting with governmental agencies. So in the beginning it has been very difficult because very little of our clients had the application pre-installed on their laptops and on their phones. And if you have a few bad experiences in the beginning as a counselor, and you know that if you make an appointment and people will pick up the phone, it's easier to just do everything by phone. So this way, many of our clients had got used to using our services by phone. And then if you ask them, what would you like in the future? And they use by phone counseling and they're satisfied with that, they will prefer that for the future as well. So I hope that says a little bit about why we have such a high preference for phone counseling. Now, on people with low IT skills, it is very difficult for them to be part of our society, because so many more services, not only from ourselves, but also from banks and from healthcare and so on, are digitized now. And it's a large problem for these people to act as a civilian. We've chosen the libraries as an outlet for IT training, very conscious. And that is because we know that people with low IT skills, often they also have low skills in reading and writing Dutch. And if you have these problems, the library is also a place where you can get your training for your language training for Dutch. So we try to combine that, because we know that these challenges are often combined. And that is why we use the libraries, and they can help you getting your first skills and do basic internet tasks, and then from that try to use governmental e-services, which we try to make as easy as we can, but that's a challenge probably for all of us to make easy IT applications. So I hope this says a little bit about our experience. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Niels, pour ces précisions. Et effectivement, le Pays-Bas, c'est un pionnier par rapport aux services à distance.
Thank you very much for this introduction. We do know that the Netherlands is in the field of video services and remote services, a pioneer. But now, last but not least, our third speaker, Mrs. Reelika Leetmaa. And she will tell us about impact assessment package, which has been drafted and elaborated in the Estonian Unemployment Insurance Fund, focus about how to involve social partners, financial aspects, etc. A round of hands.
So thank you. I'm going to tell you about automated impact evaluation tool, which is called MALLE in Estonian. So basically the idea is that all which you heard about this morning from Professor Marco Caliendo about conducting impact evaluations, what we have tried to do in Estonia is to automate these impact evaluations. But before doing that, I will say a couple of words about our institution, who we are and what you do, which you probably all know by far, so I can be really quick here. But just to be sure that you know who we are, Estonian Unemployment Insurance Board is an independent public body with tripartite management, meaning that we are not subordinate to a ministry, but our highest governing board is our supervisory board, which consists of representatives of government, employers and trade unions on equal basis. We have 2 members from each side. So we have service points all over Estonia, and we have approximately 1,000 employees, which makes us a really big institution, at least in Estonian terms. So our clients include job seekers and employers, as every PES in Europe, I guess, but we also provide services to employed people who are at risk of becoming unemployed. We provide various training measures to them, and we also provide services to young people, including students at the age of 13 to 16. We provide career services to them. So our main business trends our service provision. We have approximately 60 different measures or active labor market policies at our hand, which we can provide to our clients. We also pay benefits, including unemployment insurance and unemployment assistance benefits, and we also assess workability and pay workability benefits. So, regarding our active labor market policies, as you can see from this slide, the expenditures on active labor market policies in Estonia have increased remarkably since 2015. This is this light grey shaded area in the figure, and so is the number of participants in these measures, which has also almost doubled during that time period. And this makes it especially important to know what kind of measures to provide and what kind of measures work for what kind of people. So, which we decided to do is to develop an automated impact evaluation tool, MALLE, which is a well-known female name in Estonian, but it also stands for Machine Learning in Labor Economics. So we started in 2018 with the development of MALLE, and what we did first was to look at the different experiences of European countries. For example, we visited German PES because you have this Treffer model, which is quite similar, and relying on that experience, we tried to develop our own model. So the model was built jointly by our own analysts in Unemployment Insurance Fund, but also by the researchers from the University of Tartu and from our IT partner Nortal. And what I would like to emphasize is that it is really important to involve different partners from the very beginning of this process, because in our case, the researchers from the University of Tartu, we are responsible for the development, the methodology of this model, so they ensure that the methodology is sound. And our IT partner was responsible for integrating this model into our IT system, so it works automatically. So the programs evaluated by MALLE are currently different training programs, including vocational training, Estonian language skills training, computer training, and also general skills training. Also work practice, which is a kind of in-work training program, wage subsidy, and work-related rehabilitation programs. Currently, this model uses data on registered unemployed from January 2014 to January 2022. And all the data comes from our own registries, but we also have data from Estonian Tax and Custom Board about earnings of the participants and also non-participants. So the methodology, these models use counterfactual impact evaluation methodology, and more specifically propensity score matching and exact matching compared to regression adjustment. It depends a little bit about the program evaluated. So how MALLE works? Basically, it has 3 steps. The MALLE uses 3 steps procedure. First of all, the command files automatically access data in our data warehouse, and the data is pre-processed for evaluation. So the second step is that command files automatically construct treatment and participation groups and perform statistical matching. So as we have very rich data set, we can use different characteristics, including age, previous employment history, previous occupation, education, region, etc. So the treatment and control groups are well balanced. And the third step is that our Tableau software visualizes all these evaluation results in our data warehouse, and it also calculates the employment and income effects of the program. So, and now I'm going to show you some examples of the dashboards. So in this slide, you can see the impact of different active labor market programs which are evaluated by MALLE. So, for example, if you look at the right-hand side of the corner, you can see the impact of Estonian language training, and how to read this graph is that on the vertical axis, you see the impact of employment, and on horizontal axis, you see the time from starting the participation. So what we see here is that in case of all training programs, we can see that in the beginning of a program, there is a small lock-in effect, meaning that the participants in the beginning of programs are focused on training. So their job search activity is reduced, but approximately 5-6 months after starting the training program, the employment effects turn positive. So in case of training programs, we can say that participants in training programs are 5 to 6 percentage points more likely to be employed after 12 months of training. So what we also can see is that wage subsidy programs, which are on the right-hand side corner, left-hand side corner below here, seem to have the highest impact on employment probably, but in the same time work rehabilitation program, which is right-hand side corner, seem to have the lowest impact on employment. And in case of a work rehabilitation program, you also can see that the standard deviations are actually quite high. So this is because the number of observations in case of that program is actually quite small. And we are also not very sure that the design of a program is really suitable for using impact evaluation. In this slide, this is exactly the same slide, only the outcome indicator here is income. So the general conclusion which we can draw based on this slide is that the impact on earnings of the participants conditional on being employed is actually small or missing. It's small in case of training programs, and it's negative even in case of work practice and wage subsidy programs. So we do not really see impact on earnings in these programs. And what we can also see based on our model is that we can see from our information system, we can take, for example, each program and see the effects of this program on different subgroups. For example, in this slide, you can see the effects on different subgroups in case of vocational training. And what we can see here is that there are no big differences across years. But when it comes to gender, men seem to benefit more compared to women. Also, Estonian language risk groups, meaning that people who have poor Estonian language skills seem to benefit more compared to those who speak Estonian as their mother tongue. And which is also an interesting conclusion maybe is that people older than 50, people aged between 51 and 60 years seem to benefit more from vocational education training programs. So, main conclusions and steps ahead is that we really believe in Estonia that regular information on impact of the programs is very important. We definitely want to develop our MALLE further. But of course, which is a problem is that Estonia is such a small country, so we have small number of observations, and it is not possible to go into very detail. For example, we cannot see the results on training provider level. So if you want to develop that kind of model, it is really important that you have a good data, because all these evaluation methods are very data hungry, so you need to have good data, but you also need to have a suitable data infrastructure if you want to automate these processes. We still need to incorporate MALLE fully to our business processes because MALLE is still relatively young and we have not really incorporated it into business processes, and we also need to increase awareness within our organization. For now, we see MALLE foremost as a tool for managers, but we also recognize that we have to give our counselors information on how MALLE works and what kind of programs work for what kind of clients. So future plans, we want to incorporate, we have already started incorporating also cost-benefit analysis into our model. We also want to incorporate new services, including training measures for employed population, which we have also started. We have developed another model called MIGHT, which is a nice male name in Estonian, and we are trying to incorporate this also into MALLE. And what we also want to do is to evaluate the impact of unemployment insurance benefits on the duration of unemployment using MALLE framework. So that would be very quickly all from my side. Thank you for listening.
Merci beaucoup, Reelika.
Thank you, Reelika.
Beaucoup d'informations. Merci à Toutou Kassa.
We got a lot of information from you. Many thanks also to Mr. Pavel, who has joined us, and your whole team. Unfortunately, we cannot listen to the presentation from Australia, but given the fact that in Australia there's a pre-election period in Australia and our speaker cannot make public speeches, so these are the rules and laws in Australia. It's not like that with us, but we can speak anytime, but not in Australia. So it is really sad that we couldn't hear the experience of the Down Under this time. You spoke about MALLE. Could you also say a few specific examples, give us a few specific examples about MALLE? Which kinds of tools specifically should be developed?
Je n'ai pas entendu ce qu'a dit la traductrice.
Could you maybe be a little bit more specific?
Je reprends?
Yeah.
OK. Avec le dispositif MALLE que vous avez présenté, pouvez-vous nous donner des exemples concrets?
Could you give specific examples about the MALLE application that you would like to develop in your unemployment insurance fund? Which are the tools that you would provide your counselors to give advice?
Maybe from counselors' perspective.
So that the counselors could use them.
What we want to do is actually we want to integrate the results of MALLE into all our training programs for counselors. For example, we have a new employees training program, which our employee must take. So we will certainly implement the results of MALLE into all these training programs. We will talk about the results in all our different information systems and training sessions. But what we also want to do, which is our longer-term aim, is to integrate the results of OIT, which was introduced yesterday, which is another evaluation tool. Basically, OIT evaluates the probability of employment, every individual client. We want to integrate the results of OIT with the results of MALLE, so our counselors could see what kind of programs work for what kind of clients. because OIT gives us information what are the relevant background characteristics of a client, and MALLE can then show what kind of programs work for that kind of client groups.
Merci. Deuxième question. Comment vous allez
Thank you.
intégrer
And the second question. The second question is,
dans les résultats? Car sans doute les variations
how
de
do you
l'offre sur le marché de travail, de l'économie, peuvent influencer aussi les performances des services.
do you involve also environmental issues? Are you also measuring the economic and environmental issues in the program?
Merci aux traducteurs.
Yes, theoretically, the economic context should be taken account by these methods we use for evaluation, because participants and control groups, they come from the same time period. So theoretically, all these environmental issues should be already taken account by the methodology we use.
Parfait. Comme je commence à perdre la voix encore davantage, je voudrais me retourner vers la salle.
I tend to losing my voice already, but your answer was excellent. But now again, I will ask the audience, do you have questions? And this, it is quite free. If you have questions,
En Estonie, on ne parle pas d'argent.
and we are not speaking about money in Estonia. So no money questions about funding.
I would like to focus on the effects you found. And as regards earnings, I was a little bit surprised because if I remember correctly, in the OECD project for other countries, for example, Lithuania, they found positive effects for earnings. And my question would be whether you use your results in order to evaluate whether the design or content of your vocational training could be further improved. But of course, also the employment effect is very positive.
Thank you very much. I had maybe one thought and then one question. Maybe the first thought is that I couldn't tell you exactly how we do technically, but I'm sorry, I'm from Belgium, first of all. Exactly. So we're very similar in the context, in the numbers of job seekers and everything, so we have lots of similarities. And what I feel that the expectation from the counselor would be pretty high in Estonia if they know about this. And I see that it's probably the next step. And I know what we try to do in Belgium, it's also very first step, is that we kind of combine this machine learning aspect with the segmentation that we do of the job seeker, and to make a suggestion, because we can never be sure with the data, of the kind of counseling that we think would be the best to propose first. And then I make the link with the e-counseling, is that for the moment we are trying to automate stuff, not to give the choice to the job seeker, but to use these data to say, okay, by default, we think that you're gonna be fully digital, or we think that you're gonna appreciate the video counseling, or we think that you're not able to do neither of them, and then you have the face-to-face. And of course, afterwards, the counselor can always switch kind of counseling if he sees that he has an information, I say something extreme, but he's alcoholic, that we didn't see that in the data, and then of course he needs probably another counseling than the one we thought. So that's something very interesting. But then my question is that, do you feel that the counselor are waiting for that to be helped as as a help, or do they see that as something that's gonna make it more narrow in their jobs? Or maybe you don't know that yet, but it's something we're facing. as we a bit said, sometimes more difficulties with the change internally than sometimes the change with our customers.
Monsieur, voilà.
Great, thank you very, very much indeed. I can imagine there are a lot of very, very envious employment services because you're more or less there. You've got the El Dorado there. And of course, I accept there's more work to do. My question touches a little bit on Doris, and that is, now that the data sets are becoming a little meatier, now that you're getting myself? Or?
Yes.
Okay, apologies there. I'm Anouar Kisley. You will have seen me yesterday, so I've already been introduced. In fact, I could have done the Australian presentation, but I won't do because I work for an Australian service provider, but you were slow off the mark on that. So returning to the question there, and it's about how you link your service design, so the service improvement, to the data that you're producing. So the data is now beginning to show, for example, earnings or employment impact. How closely then are you trying to redesign the services to respond to the data that you are receiving? And how are you encouraging the competencies and capacities of people in Tutukasa to identify and to be able to organically redesign some of the services? So how are you looking at empowering staff, for example, to be able to recognize and understand how these things are affecting their clients? Okay, thank you.
Ah, une quatrième question.
And a fourth question, please.
Bonjour, je suis Max Tererabo de BP Incoma Bruxelles.
Good afternoon. I'm Max. Max de Gerato. And I have a question about the possible evaluation, automatic evaluation and qualitative evaluation. How do you combine them? Does your automatic evaluation also connect somehow with a qualitative evaluation? And if this is so how have you been able to combine those two together? Thank you.
Vous avez beaucoup écrit.
Yeah.
Allez-y.
Thank you for the excellent questions. I would start from the beginning, and the first question was about negative earning effects. So this might be also a problem of data, because currently in our database we cannot distinguish between full-time jobs and part-time jobs. So it might be that some of the participants are actually working part-time, at least if in case of wage subsidies, when we look at the data, we see that at least 25% of the sample works part-time. So there might be some data errors. We are on the process of clarifying these issues. So and after we have done that, we will re-evaluate these programs. So the second question was about counselors. Do we feel that the counselors are waiting for that kind of information, or maybe not? It's a very good question, because in case of Côte, we have seen that actually there is a controversy. Some counselors are really expecting the information, and we really believe in the power of data, but in the same time there are counselors who say that I would have known it by myself. So it's really difficult to say what kind of effect dominates. But in general, I believe that the more you do that kind of evaluations, the more you provide data to your counselors, the more they start believing that this is actually a good advice, this is helpful for their work. So we will certainly proceed with that kind of work, and I hope that finally the counselors will believe in these recommendations. So the third question was how we link the service design and how we take into account the results of the evaluations. This is also a very good question. As I said, we are still in the beginning of all this process, but what we have done now, we have formed the discussion groups. So the persons responsible for each service, they discuss the results of model, and then they have to decide what to do with these results. Do we need any more in-depth information about the service? And then they have to provide the recommendations for our researchers on how to proceed with evaluations, and they also have to come up with recommendations on what to change in the service design. But we are still very much in the beginning, so probably I can tell more about this in some time. And the fourth question was about qualitative evaluation, combining qualitative evaluation results with quantitative one. And here I would say that in the model level, we actually do not combine the results of a quantitative and qualitative evaluations, but if we think that the experiences of our counselors, of our experts who are responsible for individual services are also a kind of qualitative research or qualitative evaluation results. When we actually combine, when we can say that we actually combine the results of this quantitative model and qualitative assessment of the persons who are responsible for individual services. So, as I mentioned previously, we constantly discuss the results of the MALLE. For now, we have agreed that the results are renewed twice a year. So each time the model results are renewed, we actually gather together, and people responsible for services discuss the results and come up with recommendations on what to change. So, I guess.
Bien. Est-ce qu'il y a encore une réaction, une interaction avec la
Are there any other questions
Une remarque, une
from among the audience, or comments? Criticism, maybe? Oh, someone wants to make a critical comment. Oh, off we go.
First of all, I find the MALLE application really inspiring, and I find it inspiring as well as how you use data to learn and to improve. I will comment just as earlier a little bit about that we saw some negative effects also in your result page, which I see as a sign of strength and confidence that you openly share that. However, we also have the experience that sometimes in public opinion, these kind of negative results get a little bit more attention or another attention that you wish, because you want to learn from that, but you also become vulnerable for critique. So I'm wondering how that is perceived in Estonia, and how you deal with that, and how you can also maybe influence public opinion with your results to design better policies on a nationwide level. Thank you.
La critique pour madame.
There was actually more question for Janice, but I don't know if I...
Ma arvan, et see küsimus oli minu küsimus oli rohkem Janice.
Do you it's a little bit related to the cost efficiency for the e-counseling. We experience in Belgium that actually the level of people present in the video conference is higher than the one face-to-face? Because we're really facing a problem when we give appointment to the job seekers that sometimes, depending on region and everything, but that could be until 50–60% of people actually coming, and the other one, they just don't come, which we don't have the same problem when it's on e-counseling, maybe knowing that they also can choose the moment, so they choose themselves in a common calendar when they could go. But I was wondering if you have data about that in Germany or in other countries.
Une autre question?
Another question.
Ouais, moi c'est Jacqueline de l'AMCEP, secrétariat exécutif à Bruxelles. Ouais.
Thank you, Janice. We know each other from Brussels, and my question is actually to the expert from the Ivory Coast. Yesterday, he wasn't participating at the parallel session, but yesterday we had an excellent experience from Céline, from the Belgian PES. And it was about communication, means of communications meant for the public. And it was also very interesting to hear about how you deal with the young people in the Ivory Coast. I would really like to know how you have organized this technically. How do you use technological means? Because the target group is the young people, and they are normally more technically savvy. They have more communication, means of communication, not like us, the old schoolers. So I would like to know how in the Ivory Coast you are using the technological means in order to reach your target group. Because Forem yesterday told us about the different applications they are using in TikTok, all sorts of other applications that young people prefer. And it was really interesting for me to see how exactly they were using this in order to reach the young target group and forward the information to them about the services offered to young people. Thank you. We are also young. We're also using these gadgets. But can you answer? He got us irritated here because he said that only young people are using the gadgets. I also have a tablet here. Thank you for this question. As regards our youth employment agency, we are using actually classical means as well. We've been also considering new technologies as well, but at present we have a technological platform. This is on our internet website, and it is aimed at the young people predominantly. And when young people are seeking work, then they have to register on this platform. And through this platform, we try to show to them different projects. So all communication between the young person and the counselor is carried out through this platform. We attempt to create contact with ever more young people. And the platform is aimed at young people, and we can see that it is being used more and more
ces plateformes-là. Donc, on
It's like a pot of gold. So we try to make the platform as user-friendly as possible. We also use Facebook. You can also enter into agreements, all sorts of appointments via Facebook as well. And you can communicate with us through Facebook.
Ils interagissent, on prend des jeunes. Généralement, on capte les jeunes qui se plaignent beaucoup sur nos différents dispositifs. Donc, les jeunes qui se plaignent, on invite sur un plateau. When
we have designed these things for young people, then we use Facebook. We have a page on Facebook where they can ask questions, share their difficulties. And we have special counselors who can then give answers.
Donc, ça permet de balancer le maximum d'informations sur Facebook. On invite les jeunes à pouvoir répondre en ligne, poser des questions en ligne.
Allows us to find a balance as best as possible. On the one hand, the young people can use the platform or the Facebook, but at present our focus is on the technological platform, and we add Facebook, WhatsApp to a certain extent as well. And the companies can also are also aware of all the different versions that we are using, and in all our branches they can ask questions about new technologies and using them, but I think at present we are still experimenting, and this is pretty much all I can share about this, about how we have solved this issue at present.
I guess the question for me was about the public opinion about negative effects of MALLE. So the honest answer would be that we have not yet introduced the results of MALLE to public, but this is certainly a very important issue. But if you want to go public with models like MALLE, it's not only negative effects which may arise questions. It may be also that, hey, we see that the participants are only 6 percentage points more likely to find jobs compared to non-participants. This is such a small number. So I guess the only thing what you can do is to refer to existing studies from other countries. You can maybe show with the help of cost-benefit analysis what it means in terms of money if the participants are 6 percentage points more likely to find jobs. So certainly this is a point which you need to think very carefully if you want to go public with these results. And I think we certainly need a media plan, how we would do that, and before doing that we have to be certain that the results in case of earnings, that the data is correct and we have all relevant information in our model, and we can tell the valid results to public, and maybe also explain what is behind of these results, because it's different in case of each program evaluated.
Bien. Une réaction?
I already have one question left, I think.
Yes, sure.
Yes.
Do you have any comments?
The figures and the appointments from customers, I think we're facing similar problems on all PES. And of course, before the pandemic, when we had face-to-face meetings, we also experienced that people don't show up to the appointments they have. And but the thing is, as I told you, we didn't have video counseling before the pandemic really for everyone. We didn't offer it for everyone, just for a very small group of people. So during the pandemic, we extended our offer in video counseling, and it's a free offer we have. And we're doing a survey on it, so we're trying to find out how the usage is, how the acceptance is, and all those things around it. So I don't have figures yet. I might in the future, but I can't answer and give you any figures at the moment because we're taking those steps. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Merci à vous, le gardien du temple
Suur tänu.
que ma tête est à jouer maintenant. Je vous ai promis la question.
Thank you very, very much. I encouraged the audience to ask questions. And actually, we've also had an opinion poll. A question I asked you, have you answered the question? Okay, 3 options. Okay, what's the result? Most of you said sometimes. Okay, I was pretty sure this will be the response. I never answer. But as you can see, 86% answered sometimes, 14% always. But there's no one like me here. I am the one to tell you
pour le Congrès mondial et vous avez intérêt à tous répondre. Vous avez intérêt
that we have also launched a satisfaction survey about our conference. We would like to get your responses. Otherwise, we'll never invite you to Estonia again and we will take away your tablets. But anyway, at WWC.com, you will find the questionnaire and you can provide your answers. And we call upon you all answer our survey. We have had brilliant, intelligent speakers, great. We have a token of appreciation to all of them. Thank you for attending. In Estonian, we don't do anything else but distribute gifts. So our next meeting should be again in Estonia.